and hope that the Ferrari eats up his tyres a little bit later in the stint. So, yeah, standard stop for Red Bull, and he's out on the hard tyres. 2.2 seconds, a standard stop for Red Bull. I think last year Sergio Perez had the fastest 8 pit stops for the Red Bull team. 2.2 seconds, very nicely executed on this particular occasion. Here comes the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz up against the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg. It's no contest really, because one's on fresher tyres. Sainz now runs fifth.
Yeah, Sainz has had to push harder straight out of the pits though, which is not ideal when you want to get these tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. But so they're looking at Sainz for speeding in the pit lane. We saw him locking up, and he hit that line too fast. And normally, when you're noted for that, because they've got some hard data, that could well mean a penalty for Carlos, a 5-second penalty for Sainz.
Yeah, there's no grey areas on that one. It's a did he or didn't he? And it did look like, yes, he was attacking the line, but if he did get down to 80 kilometres an hour, he did it by millimetres rather than a large margin. But he was doing it to try and get out ahead of Alex Albon, and he only just did that. So at the start, Max Verstappen, 9th on the grid, but on the hard compound tyres. That's how they're looking after 20 laps of this race. When he moved up to 2nd place on lap 15, he was 3.7 seconds behind his teammate Sergio Perez. That gap is disappeared now because Perez has pitted. Max Verstappen is out in the lead, and we're looking at Lewis Hamilton, who once again is looking at trying to get past Nico Hülkenberg, and once again gets a little bit frustrated going into turn 17.
Okay, understood.
We often hear things like that from Max Verstappen during the course of a race. Let's see if Hamilton's got enough straight to get past Hülkenberg, and once again he's a little bit frustrated behind him. And behind those two, here's Lance Stroll on the inside of Alex Albon. Oh, they almost touched wheels, or brushed maybe wheel rim to wheel rim. This is the battle currently for 9th place. Stroll thought he saw an opportunity there. He's under pressure from George Russell right behind him.
We often hear that with Red Bull this season, don't we? It's a bit of a weakness, I think, somewhere in the downshift or the shifting. And they were very concerned about it. I know back in the first Grand Prix, they were concerned whether they were going to get to the end of the race or not.
On board with Sergio Perez, and making his way back up into the top 3. That move there on Esteban Ocon. Anthony Davis, Sky Race Control, over to you.
Yeah, so I've just been looking back at that onboard of Sainz coming into the pit. I'm convinced he did break the speed limit. He was fully locked up for such a long time. I mean, I don't have the actual speed of the car, but just what I've seen, I think he's in hot water there.
Now, the stewards have now got involved with that one, Anthony. I don't think because of what you said, I think they have the data themselves. He's under investigation by the stewards. For speeding in the pit lane, this is not going to be good news, I fear. And for Carlos Sainz this afternoon, is he going to lose 5 seconds to his race time for speeding in the pit lane? That's the normal penalty, I think, for matters such as that. George Russell pitted a little bit earlier. He's come out now behind Aston Martin. He's getting bogged down behind them, and disappearing into the pit lane is Alex Albon as we head down to the Red Bull pit wall. Christian Horner, Max Verstappen out in the lead. Sergio Perez third after his stop. Took tyres to us. The hard tyre looking very much like the race tyre to be on at the moment.
Yeah, the hard tyre's a decent tyre. I think the medium behaved reasonably well as well. So we've effectively got 2 races running in reverse here. So Max obviously going for the hard for the start, needing to go long, and Checo now on obviously on the hard tyre, which looks like a good race start.
Yeah, we're hearing Max on the radio complaining about understeer, Christian, but who's got the advantage here at the moment, do you think? Is this in Sergio's hands or Max's hands?
The block I'm looking in front of me, they get pretty close with 3 laps to go. So it really depends how the deck is, how it unfolds. But with what we're envisaging on our simulations here, it's about 3 laps to go. They'll be racing each other.
Christian, thanks ever so much for joining us. It is all action out on the track currently. Lewis Hamilton has got past Nico Hülkenberg. George Russell is trying to get past Lance Stroll, and he wants them to check the front wing. Now, race control have also noted, I think, Lance Stroll for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He's putting that Aston Martin as into the middle of the track as he possibly can. There's George Russell, no room to get past there, but surely Russell is going to get this done. Down into turn one, he's got a great exit coming out of the final corner, and before we even apply the brakes, the Mercedes is a car length ahead. Into turn one he goes, ahead then of Lance Stroll. Good defensive driving in the main part from Lance Stroll, but he couldn't stop the Mercedes into turn 9.
Mercedes, which has pitted, of course. Stroll has not pitted yet in this Grand Prix. So tyres coming into play there. You have to leave a driver attacking you one car's width. And I always think it should be a car and a bit, actually, because it did look like just about the width of the Mercedes there that George Russell was playing with.
Front line looks okay, George Russell is told. Gap between Verstappen and Perez, because we think the winner's going to come from one of these two, barring a safety car or an incident. The gap now about 17.7 seconds at the end of lap 23, and Perez is starting to gain even further. Verstappen has got to stop. It's about a 20-second loss when he does stop. So what Verstappen needs to do is to find out what that gap needs to be to give him the best chance to catch his teammate after he does stop, and there's no further action from the stewards for that Lance Stroll George Russell incident.
Alonso pits from second place.
So they've gone a little bit long with Fernando Alonso, and he finally does come into the pits, where Carlos Sainz came into the pits about 6 or 7 laps ago and picked up a 5-second penalty. You might have seen it on your screen, but just to confirm, he gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Which will be added onto his elapsed time, because we're not expecting him to make another pit stop. Normally you would serve that in a pit stop.
Fernando Alonso comes out then behind Carlos Sainz. He was ahead of Carlos Sainz before the pit stops. He's behind Esteban Ocon, who's got a pit again.
But in the pit, you need to let me know what for the petition of the media pass. The media pass to do with the front wing.
But I'm looking at that on the pit wall. You focus on driving, please.
He's just trying to give his race engineer, Giampiero Lambiase, just a little bit of guidance as to what he might need there, and that is Giampiero right in the middle, the man with the least amount of hair. Adrian Newey, meanwhile, not much hair himself these days, but he's covered up with a very sporty Miami cap.
It's got me back saying, stop talking to me, let me just get on with the driving. That's GP's engineer saying, let me get on with the engineering and I'll give you the right front wing setting.
And also on that wall, sporting director Jonathan Wingley, who's 56 years old today, and told Sergio Perez, you know what you need to do? Come and celebrate my birthday with a win. He is now currently 16 and a bit seconds behind his teammates. Further back, Pierre Gasly made this move on Lance Stroll. Fairly standard for Gasly, who has pitted, Stroll, who hasn't. Ted, down to you.
So what Fernando Alonso, you might have thought that was a bit long for Fernando Alonso, especially as the radio message been talking about degradation, he wants to pit earlier. Now either that was a bit of a bluff, or what Fernando's done, well definitely what Fernando's done, is given himself 6 laps fresher tyres to make sure that he's within 5 seconds of Sainz at the end of the race. So further thinking there, that's for the last podium place, of course, at the moment.
And of course, with the power of the drag reduction system rear wing on the Red Bull, it also works Red Bull against Red Bull. Would you want to be second going into the last couple of laps, or even the last lap? Would you want to be the second Red Bull?
So keep me updated on what's happening in the race, man. Like, how's the pace? What's it looking like? What have to do? Pace is good relative to the hard runners that are still out, so we just need to keep pushing on the tyres now. Your pace is good.
His teammate Fernando Alonso had to pull out of that one a bit sharpish. That was almost a bit of contact with the Ferrari ahead of him. Sainz is right on the rear of that Ferrari. I don't know the answer, Martin, with 3 laps to go, as to which Red Bull I'd want to be in, the leader or the second.
I'm just teeing it up because according to Christian, all of their data suggests they'll come together with 3 laps to go. So, yeah, would you want to be first or second at that point? We'll find out.
Fernando Alonso would surely like to be fourth into the next braking zone. He might well be able to, but for the time being, Carlos Sainz is keeping him frustrated in the way that Alonso kept Sainz frustrated in the early part of this race. But look, here comes Alonso now, got a really good exit, didn't he? Out of that final corner, he's going to try and go around the outside. That's where Carlos Sainz is forcing him, and it's more frustration for the 2-time world champion behind his fellow Spaniard, Carlos Sainz. I always like it when these two battle on the track for some reason. We get something really tasty.
Well, they're very good friends, of course, the families, and they have tripped over each other a little bit of late.
George Russell is making his way back up the field again. Was running in the top 5 at one stage, and he's on the 8th place. Surface tarmac is right there. Here comes Fernando Alonso once again. On Carlos Sainz, he's got DRS if he wants it. He's got braking if he needs it, and he's got quite a bit to go before he gets into the corner after making that move. Very nice indeed, but Sainz, that Ferrari is very, very good in the slow corners. He's right back on his heels again.
Yeah. Alonso pitted 6 laps later to put his tyres on, so he'll have some benefit from that as the final part of the race unfolds.
He's so good at elongating these stints and managing those tyres.
For me, he's pushing too much. He's not good for the tyres. I don't agree with this.
Max Albon is feeling the pace, feeling the heat, and having a bit of a struggle at the moment. I'm just looking at Charles Leclerc, Martin, down in 13. I think it's a bit of a struggle for him today. He's got himself all bogged down in that DRS train, and he's not making the moves back up that I assume he and Ferrari thought he would.
Absolutely. George Russell's job now is to get within 5 seconds of Carlos Sainz and steal that place when he takes his penalty.
We're on board now with the Mercedes once again. On George Russell, Nico Hulkenberg this time is the car ahead of him. Hulkenberg hasn't pitted yet, neither has Lewis Hamilton, who's running in 6th place. Esteban Ocon is running 3rd, yet to come into the pits. Max Verstappen yet to come into the pits too. Lance Stroll and also Joe Guanyu are the drivers that haven't pitted yet. George Russell then on the ass of Nico Hulkenberg, racing here for the first time. He wasn't in Formula 1 when we came to Miami last year, and I don't think he's putting up much of a fight there. That's not his race against George Russell. He was up now into 7th place.
What is the pace of that? 31.8.
What is the pace on the last lap of Sergio Perez? 31.8.
Max has just put a 31.776 in. It's not the fastest lap of the race, but I think he still holds that, doesn't he? I know Perez has got it at the moment at 1:31.444 for the extra World Championship point. But of course, Max will have a great chance of stealing that on a fresh set of medium compound tyres later on.
So Sergio a couple of tenths faster on lap 28. So he's now 16.1 seconds behind. Max has got to come in a bit and then make up the deficits. Christian Horner says with about 3 laps to go, that might be where the two Red Bulls are starting to run. The tyres will be struggling a little bit on Max Verstappen's hard compounds because he's been running it so long. But as we've been saying, Martin, because the track got rained on last night, the rubber got washed off, the development, the evolution of the track is quite dramatic in this race. So the times will still keep getting better.
So you're 2 tenths quicker than Checo in sector 2. It's all turns 4, 5 and 6. And he's pushing the time. It is getting gusty out there, Max, so just take care in that section.
Times will keep getting better because the track is getting faster. Fernando Alonso getting enough pace there to get past Esteban Ocon, who hasn't pitted yet. Right, Ted, down to you.
I'm half expecting Alpine to come out in the pits for Ocon, because it's starting to hurt a bit. But really, like Max Verstappen, they need to make it to at least that 40, don't you think, on this hard tyre? So really, another 12, 15 laps for Max Verstappen to come in. So Sergio Perez will do what he can do, but see if he can hold on. But can I just, you've got time, Crofty, for a little update on Oscar Piastri?
All the time in the world for you.
Right, well, I know it's Monday morning in Melbourne, Oscar's hometown, but it's a whole heap of rainy Monday morning. He's struggling with a long brake pedal, is Oscar. So he's having a bit of a miserable race. They've told him it's a systems problem, a software problem. It's not mechanical, so it's not like the brake pedal's going to go long and then disappear completely. Oscar's not going to have any brakes. He does have brakes. He's coping with it very well, but it explains why he's now 11 seconds behind his teammate Lando Norris. Both of them are only 17th and 18th, so yeah, that explains some of Oscar's lack of pace.
Yeah, and he's under pressure But Nick de Vries right behind him, where Logan Sargent tailed off. He had a bit early, remember, to replace his front wing. Alex Albon struggling down in 16th place at the moment. The two Alfa Romeos, Joe and Bottas. 14th for Joe Guan Yu, hasn't pitted yet. Valtteri Bottas has, and he's stuck way down where deeper he doesn't want to be. And Charles Leclerc not really gaining on Kevin Magnussen the way that you would expect. As here goes Carlos Sainz on Esteban Ocon. And Ocon, who did, 50 laps in Baku on a hard compound tyre, is playing the long game again. It's like a Hail Mary here at the Dolphin Stadium for him. He's going long, and he's doing a decent job as well.
Last time around, Russell was exactly...
You are free to lead on the tyres more now, Max. Just watching our track position on Fernando.
So Russell was exactly 5 seconds behind Sainz last time around. So in position there at the moment to steal that position away because of the penalty.
Yeah, they want Max to lean on the tyres a little bit because they want to get in and out ahead of Fernando Alonso if they can possibly do that. His last lap though, 1:32.4 for Verstappen. Perez on 1:31.4. So Perez's hard compound tyre, which is newer, is starting to really reap the dividends against Verstappen's hard tyre, which has done 30 and a bit laps of this race so far.
So obviously the story will be that Verstappen, he can't catch him. It'll be Verstappen on his fresher tyres, catching Perez behind him in the pit stop.
So a few cars swerving down that back straight. Anthony Davidson, have you got any clues on that one?
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of debris there across on the track, so I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I've written on a few of the onboards now, and every single driver is definitely avoiding action of it. So I don't know if we're going to have to clear that up, but yeah, something definitely to keep an eye on.
Don't be surprised then if some sort of virtual safety car, Martin, or probably not the full safety car, if that debris does need removing.
Especially on a street circuit, I think when you've got fans alongside they're so close to the track like that, it's yeah, very interesting what that is. I haven't seen any sign of it myself, but so if it's a piece of carbon fibre or whatever rather than litter.
So it looks like George are 1.1 behind, so we aren't racing him, we're racing Ocon. Let's not hold each other up.
Right, so let George past. Your fight is with Esteban Ocon, and I would imagine still for a points finish for Lewis Hamilton in this race. Russell, top 5, will probably be quite satisfied with that. But strange old weekend once again for Mercedes. First and second fastest in FP1, and then the pace just wasn't there in qualifying. And once again, a Mercedes not making it into the top 10 for the second week in a row.
It's been a very difficult weekend to read all round, hasn't it? Other than the Red Bulls have been fast, everybody else has been very difficult to understand. The track's been all over the place in terms of the grip that it would give up.
I'm backing up though.
We'll find a place where I can let him pass, but I don't want to ruin my race pace while I'm doing that, which I think is fair enough. I won't put up a fight, but I'm not going to lose out myself just because my teammate needs to get past. And we're on board with George Russell. He hasn't quite got the pace. Down the straight into turn 11, but then Lewis Hamilton coming out of that corner does rather make way. George Russell moves up into 6th place. Esteban Ocon ahead of him, yet to pit. Hamilton still to get into the pits himself in this race, which Max Verstappen leads. He's just set a new fastest lap of the race.
Thank you very much appreciated.
That's a polite young man.
He is like that.
Rung up proper.
Boy.
You've all got manners, David. So, Verstappen over Perez then, and interestingly, Verstappen maybe starting to lean on those tyres, just get rid of any performance line that they've got before he comes into the pits. We're on lap 33 out of 57. Fernando Alonso is now 29 seconds behind the race leader, so very comfortable for Verstappen to get in and back out again ahead of the Aston Martin, which is keeping currently Carlos Sainz at bay. They're lapping within a couple of hundredths of a second of each other on that last lap. Esteban Ocon runs in fifth, George Russell gaining on him. Ocon's got a DRS behind Carlos Sainz.
Effective track position is around 5 seconds behind Checo.
obviously the longer we can extend this, the better.
That's the out of town there of Nick de Vries, moving up a place, or wanting to move up a place after Joe Grant Hewitt hits it. We've got Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly, Nico Hulkenberg all down there squabbling for a bit of track position, and then the Haas of Kevin Magnussen behind that. Stroll on a set of tyres that he hasn't managed to change yet. He's just finding himself in a squabble here, and it is not helping his race pace at all, but this might be the fight that he's in for the minor points places.
Yeah, I can understand why he felt sort of unsure about where he was, what he was doing in the race, because it's such a contrary strategy to many of the cars around him.
Nico Hulkenberg running 9th there. Some good moves from him today. Gasly has got DRS now. Lance Stroll carries on his way. So we see the car, the hats of Nico Hulkenberg, diving into the pits. Ted Kravitz, let's head down to you.
Yeah, and that means that the cars behind might have a bit of changing of the order. What has happened to Charles Leclerc's pace? Well, I'll tell you what it is. He's protecting his tyres, and he's just about to launch an attack on Kevin Magnussen in front of him, and potentially then Lance Stroll. But Charles Leclerc, more or less doing the same time as Carlos Sainz in front of him. Oh, as I see Sainz at a 34. Sainz lost 2 seconds somewhere, probably, in the last lap. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, no, I knew that Esteban Ocon's got ahead of Sainz here as well. Got DRS on Carlos Sainz, but I didn't necessarily see the error. Carlos Sainz, by the way, is out to get back on terms once again. Yeah, he has. He's gone up in the fourth. He's regained that place.
Yeah, so Charles Leclerc, I mean, I guess after the mistake of yesterday, the Ferrari not really liking these hard tyres. The best they can hope for, maybe top 6, but that seems quite a long way away at the moment.
He says the car's jumping all over the place as well. The car's jumping all over the place as the message Sainz was striving. Here's the move on Esteban Ocon.
Gear shifts nice and late. So that was easy enough, wasn't it? But again, obviously Sainz on the pressure tyres.
So Sainz is struggling. Mercedes have relayed that message now to George Russell. Not only is Sainz struggling, don't forget he's also got a 5-second penalty to add to his race time. So George Russell, I'm saying top 5, top 4 could easily be on for him with Ferrari struggling to have a penalty, and the fact that Ocon will be out of the way soon. Just looking here, Russell not a huge distance behind Fernando Alonso in third either.
Yeah, Russell's had a nice pace actually since he came back out, but yeah, comfortably ahead of Sainz with the penalty. He didn't hang on in there. It might, as you say, be a bit of a pleasant surprise for Mercedes on a weekend where they've really struggled.
Yeah, quite. It's a battle. They're fighting the championship. It's with Aston Martin and with Ferrari for this season. Points George Russell could pick up here will be gratefully received, I'm sure. Lap 35 out of 57 here at the Miami Grand Prix. Another fastest lap of the race for Max Verstappen. So I'm saying the tyres might start wearing, but the track is improving, so don't be surprised that as the fuel is burning down, the times do get faster and faster, even if you haven't made your pit stop yet.
Sergio's got to be patient, hasn't he? He's got to drive his tyres, drive his car, his race, but it must be very tempting every time Max goes faster to push a little bit harder for Sergio Perez, to remind you, put those tyres on lap 20 of this race. And of course, Verstappen yet to stop. He started on the hard tyre.
It was really sluggish on that last lap as well. So there goes George Russell on Esteban Ocon. Nice clean move. Down into turn 1, really sluggish on that last lap. There is 1,000th of a second slower than his teammate who set the fastest lap of the race. And that's good news, because in the past, matching Max Verstappen's times has not always been Sergio Perez's forte. And if we want a battle for the championship, we'll see more and more of that getting close together. Kevin Magnussen takes the bumpy scenic route.
Makes his own track up. He'll have that time delete, but he won't take a penalty for it. So it doesn't matter when the lap time deleted. We're not going to be getting the fastest lap anyway.
Right, he does it more than 3 times. That's when it becomes a problem for exceeding track limits. Charles Leclerc, has he managed his tyres beautifully to make a really late charge in this race to try and put himself somewhere in the top 7. Back to the end of the back, he was matching Sergio Perez times right at the end.
He was, but he's down in 12th place. Really, he's had a difficult afternoon, hasn't he? Sort of just hasn't worked out for him anywhere, and he hasn't been able to march forward. Got a chance here though.
So he has with the DRS, bouncing going on down that back straight. Charles Leclerc trying to get the slipstream for as long as he possibly can. Kevin Magnussen forces him to the inside and tries to make the switcheroo, but that's not going to happen there. Charles Leclerc is up into 11th and now starting to make a few gains. Yuki Tsunoda hits once more for AlphaTauri. Kevin Magnussen comes back at Charles Leclerc because he had DRS into turn 1. And that's why he wasn't really bothered about losing the place in the turn 17. That is coming thinking there from Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, great driving. Kevin's been on it, hasn't he? He's been so feisty. But, a customer Ferrari team going back past the works Ferrari, and not for the first time.
Some good news, really, for those at Maranello. To compound that, Carlos Sainz is about to lose 4th place. He does. George Russell in the Mercedes now getting past Carlos Sainz. He's up into the top 4. Sainz with a 5-second penalty to come. Don't forget, Sainz now free to get after Fernando Alonso as getting back after Kevin Magnussen is Charles Leclerc's next priority. And all he can see is the blinking, harvesting lights of the house just in front of him. Now, what does he do now, Martin? Having tried and failed to get past Magnussen last time out, does he bide his time a bit more this time out?
I think he's got to make a cleaner pass. He's got to claim the apex and slow everything down and get a better drive out. Because Magnussen's just picking up. There's Lewis Hamilton bits. Magnussen just picking up the DRS and the slipstream. But this time around, it's the Ferrari that'll have the benefit down the pit straight, and he should be able to get this job done.
Yeah, well, once done, once learned, not going to make the mistake again. Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, I should say, and he does get past Kevin Magnussen, and he's now free to extend that advantage before the next DRS. So, as we mentioned, Lewis Hamilton pitting, come out onto the track around about 13-14.
Well, Nico Hülkenberg just did the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.9 on a new set of mediums, which bodes well for Max Verstappen when he bolts them on down the road.
Doesn't it just? With a little less fuel on board, the mediums might hold up a little bit longer too. So watch, once again, Charles Leclerc.
So I think he probably elected to stay behind here. And that was the first one then, wasn't it? That was the previous, and then this is Magnussen coming back at it. I think next time around, Leclerc realised you've got to be the second car out of the turn 17 hairpin, and this was the net result of that then, with his rear wing open, which closes as soon as you lift off or touch the brake pedal. Your rear wing closes, otherwise you'd be spinning off the racetrack.
Here's George Russell. We saw this move as well.
Nice.
Ferrari, Carlos Sainz.
Nice.
Normally it's Carlos Sainz that's doing the singing.
Yeah.
Smooth operator. George very much on song this afternoon.
What Sainz has to be careful of with his 5-second penalty is he doesn't fall back into some other cars later on as well.
So, on board now with the Red Bull. Max Verstappen has just been told his effective track position, say Red Bull, is 3 seconds behind your teammate. And that's because there's a 17-second gap between them. But when he pits, it's a 20-second loss. So he comes out 3 seconds behind him. You might have seen 17 seconds on your screen. I don't think, Martin, that is the time lost in the pits.
It's near 20, isn't it? But Perez just had a horrible lap. He's in clear air, so there's no reason why. Maybe he's had a mistake somewhere because he just lost over a second on the previous lap to Max Verstappen.
So that message might be to Max Verstappen. Now you might be 2 seconds between you and your teammate. Here's Lewis Hamilton trying to get past Valtteri Bottas, old teammates at Mercedes. Bottas now an Alfa Romeo driver and not going to be moving over on that particular occasion. Ted, down to you.
Thank you. I think a couple of things from down here. First of all, confirmed Carlos Sainz's problem is tyre wear, particularly on the front right. Secondly, Esteban Ocon is about to pit. They are coming out in the Alpine pit box for him now with the medium tyres. That's going to put him just behind, I think, Lewis Hamilton. So it's quite a good outlap for Hamilton. Sorry, do you need to come in? What's it said?
They need to kill the tyres. The technical boundary.
Yeah, so Hamilton rejoined behind Albon, cleared Albon quite quickly and is now attacking Bottas, as you can see. Where's Ocon going to come out now in terms of Hamilton?
Well, Hamilton has just got past Valtteri Bottas. Nice move as well, and I think he needed to make it with Esteban Ocon coming out of the pits. And look, Hamilton ahead of Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas, who's stuck behind now the Alpine. So that move from Lewis Hamilton was very timely indeed to get past Ocon, who had just made his pit stop. Martin.
Yeah, it was had to be done. Ocon very quickly cleared the traffic as well. So, of course, then he's got a nice fresh set of tyres. Lewis pitted on lap 37. Ocon then it has a 4-lap advantage over him.
So that leaves two then that haven't pitted. Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen. Let's have a quick look at this Lewis Hamilton move again. He tried to get the move done long before turn 17. That wasn't going to happen, but here is a bit of the old switcheroo. I like it. I know some don't. Lewis Hamilton loved it. He's up past Valtteri Bottas. Let's head to Sky Race Control. Anthony Davidson.
I like the old switcheroo as well. You're not alone there, mate. It was a good spot, by the way, Martin, on that lap, that 4-lap of Sergio Perez. He just rode on board with him a few laps back. He ran perilously close to doing what Leclerc did in qualifying at turn 7 off the track. Picks up loads of understeer. It was a heart-in-the-mouth moment, I can tell you.
Wow. Yeah, hopefully we're going to replay that. So, he can't afford to give away a second, Sergio Perez, in this race, because when Verstappen bolts those medium compound tyres on, he's going to be lightning fast.
He absolutely is. Lightning fast with enough laps to go in this race. I see, of course, the Red Bull team do a very fine job of the pit stop, and why would they not do a very fine job? They ultimately do. 2.2 seconds was the Sergio Perez pit stop when he came in to make his stop a while back. The gap now between Verstappen and Perez, so it's 18 seconds. Verstappen's gone faster still on that latest lap. So there's only a couple of seconds to play with. Might be a lot tighter than we thought 10 laps ago when Verstappen pits.
This is very much advantage Max Verstappen now. The pace he's putting in, the tyres he will have available to him, and coming up behind a car that doesn't have drag reduction system available when his does. This is absolutely advantage Verstappen.
On the last lap, half a second difference between Verstappen and Perez. Fernando Alonso was actually quicker than Sergio Perez. When you go off the track, Martin, you'll see the marbles there, the offline. When you do go onto the runoff area, you pick up a lot of dirt. It sometimes takes you a couple of laps to clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're inside an unloaded tyre, especially with the camber that they run leading in the top of the tyre on the front. You get a lot of pickup, and that just the cold rubber just sticks to your tyres.
Red Bull are telling Max Verstappen effective track position now minus 1.5 seconds. You're going to be out in front when you made your pit stop.
So effective track position now minus 1.7. Minus 1.7.
It's got to be good news if you're Max Verstappen.
Yeah, he's on a roll, isn't he? He's really done well to get these tyres this far at this speed, having also negotiated the traffic.
Mentioned last time someone won from 9th on the grid, Niki Lauda in Dijon, 1984. Max Verstappen last year managed to win from 7 different grid spots. 10th was one of them, 14th was one of them, 9th certainly wasn't. He's going to add another to his ever-growing collection of victories, potentially from, it seems, anywhere else on the grid. If he does win today, he'll tie the record for the most amount of wins in a Red Bull car, currently held by Sebastian Vettel. So he'll tie that on what's the anniversary this week, isn't it? The announcement when Red Bull said, come up to the big team in 2016.
Yeah, extraordinary. I was proud of that stat, wasn't it? A Grand Prix only been won from 9th on the grid 4 times in the history of the sport. Incredible. Ted.
Just do some time.
Yeah. Lance Stroll is pitting, so
Hang on, Ted. Sorry.
is it finished now? Lance Stroll's pitting. Nice stop. They were, of course, they were waiting for a safety car. It didn't come, but that's a tidy stop. We'll see where he rejoins. And just talk about safety cars. I think the teams might have considered that there might be one and have underfueled the cars accordingly. So much so they might not have got to the end of the race. And that's some lift and coast messages, guys, we're hearing on the team radio. Yeah. But Sergio Perez, his engineer, told him Max is doing a larger amount of lift and coast. So clearly they've had to manage a fuel level and both Red Bulls. So yeah, Verstappen and Perez have to figure out where the advantage leaves them between them.
Yeah, you always start the race with a bit less fuel than you may need. You don't want to carry that around with you for a Grand Prix distance. It costs you too much time. It's probably 3.5 tenths of a second per 10 kilograms of fuel around this track. So, but without any kind of safety car or slow running or what have you, yeah, I can well see that. Lift and coast means you lift well before you get to your normal braking point. Let the aerodynamics slow the car down and brake a little bit later, and that just means you're not pumping fuel through the engine.
I have to laugh there. We just saw a shot of James Marsden, the actor, stood by the side of the track. That definitely was not Roger Federer. I assume Jackie Stewart is now trying to go and get Roger Federer straight stand by the side of the track.
Good on, Jack.
If you saw the grid walk earlier, Martin Brundle, he steps down and class shouting, Roger was a 3-time world champion, went to got one of the best tennis players we've ever seen to come and talk. I loved it.
Yeah, good old Jack. Was he 83 or something? There he was fighting the guards, security guys. He got it done. He never gives up.
Use Jackie Stewart on your grid more often. He can be your minder. Absolutely love it. So Verstappen, I'm sure, is starting to really enjoy this afternoon as well. He's 18.3 seconds ahead of his teammate. He has got to pit. He's the one remaining driver left to pit in this race. And when he comes out, at the moment, he'll be about 1.5 seconds potentially behind Sergio Perez. Fernando Alonso running in 3rd place. You'll notice there, Sergio Perez has just set a new fastest lap of the race. He needs to be doing a bit more of that. 2 tenths he's made up on Verstappen's gap in that last lap. In 4th place at the moment, George Russell matching the times of Fernando Alonso, running about 8 seconds behind him. Carlos Sainz about a 10th quicker than Russell on the last lap, still 2.5 seconds further back. Pierre Gasly for Alpine running 6th. And Alpine got a lot of criticism, didn't they, from the CEO, Laurent Rossi of the Alpine company, saying they're not coming up to the standards and the resources we've given them demand, and really very critical of the team. Well, I think Pierre Gasly is running a super look race for the team to answer those criticisms this afternoon. Charles Leclerc is running 7th for Ferrari, with others pitting and managing his tyres. He's making his way back up through the field. Kevin Magnussen currently running 8th. Gunther Steiner expressionless on the pit wall. Lewis Hamilton runs 9th, gaining on Magnussen. Ocon runs 10th, and finally, the race leader, Max Verstappen, comes into the pits while Sergio Perez now approaches turn 17. So, medium compound tyre, new set of medium tyres, and he's lost about 9 tenths of a second to his teammate in terms of how stationary or how long the car was stationary. There goes Sergio Perez on the track. Max Verstappen at 80 kilometres an hour has the inside line in that pit lane. Sergio Perez retakes the lead, and that is the gap then between the 2 Red Bulls, who now race to the checkered flag. Verstappen on the pressure tyres, Perez out in front.
Perez pitted on lap 20, just to remind you, to put his tyres on, his hard compound tyres on. And now Verstappen then, he'll feel some grip, and he can see his enemy, which also happens to be his teammate. And what can you tell us?
It's been really strange listening to Perez's radio. They haven't told him anything about this fight between himself and Max Verstappen, whereas on Verstappen's side of the garage, it's been that constant, we've heard it coming through from his engineer, that constant check on how the relative race gap is between himself and his teammate. So Perez has sort of been out there, in a way, driving blind. It's been very odd, a bit too quiet on his radio.
Sergio Perez never previously won any of the opening 5 races of the season in his career. He's taken 2 out of the opening 4 this season. Would like to make it 3 out of 5 and a sprint win to add to it, of course, in Baku. But that gap doesn't look very, very large at all. If you're cheering for Sergio Perez this afternoon, it looks nice and close enough. If you're cheering for Max Verstappen, who won the last 3 Grand Prix to be held in the USA, might just be making it 4 in a row in a few laps' time.
I think Perez is defenceless here, basically, without the DRS, rear wing, and with the tyre differential now between the 2 cars. It's an easy one for Verstappen.
Well, he's looked so lightning quick against every other car with DRS down the straights.
Yeah.
How much more lightning quick he'll look against his teammate remains to be seen. But you're right, he's got so much grip. He's good.
Yeah. He can bide his time as well. And of course, those mediums should be very comfortable now to the end of the race as well. There with low fuel and a gripped up racetrack. It depends on exactly how much fuel saving they've got to do. Look at this.
Oh, he's gaining. What Sergio Perez would like, some of these clouds that are sat over the Miami International Autodrome to blow away in the wind, because it might just increase the track temperature a bit. Make those medium tyres great, because that could be what bit of defence he's got. He doesn't seem to have much defence, does he? On this lap, Verstappen's got to within a car length of Sergio Perez, who pitted first. Verstappen took the lead, then came into the pits, lost that lead, and he's about to get it back again, it seems here. 200 miles an hour down the back straight. Perez puts his car to the middle of the track, tries to force Max Verstappen wide. Good defence there from Sergio Perez, but he's going to have to do it all over again now on the run down to turn 1. What's Sergio got in his locker to keep Max Verstappen at bay? Verstappen switches to the left-hand side, wants to go round the outside. Perez under braking, wheel to wheel with his teammate. Verstappen gets the best traction. But he finally gets back out into the lead once again. Great defence from Sergio Perez, but he just didn't have enough grip to keep it going.
They were both pretty tentative, weren't they, down there into turn 1. They did not want to run into each other, but Verstappen really got this one covered. From 10 to 15 laps ago, with the pace he was able to do on those used tyres.
Max Verstappen back out into the lead, and he's got just a few laps left before the checkered flag to complete what would be a thoroughly impressive afternoon for him, and one I'm sure that he will welcome quite a bit after a Baku that he didn't really enjoy by his own high standards.
So what Max was doing there was again charging his battery up to make sure that he doesn't slipstream his teammate down the back straight with him having DRS. You can see him, it was really harvesting hard so that he's got plenty of punch later in the lap.
Yeah, because whilst he won't have that DRS because he's out in the lead, he can use the battery to give himself that much more pace. I think she rather enjoyed that move from Max Verstappen, who does keep his lead into turn 17, but Checo Perez is right there with him, and they've got Oscar Piastri just ahead in the McLaren. Back marker, he'll have to move out of the way for blue flags, of course. You see Oscar Piastri there, and after him, well, long way to go to Nick de Vries, the next back marker. It's all looking rather sunny here in Miami from Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Let's head. Oh, sorry, Mark.
Well, a new fastest lap for him as well, so it's a World Championship point there. And he's broken the DRS gap already. He's a second and a half ahead.
El Scorchio for Max Verstappen, then, not just sunny. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, and he's making. He was cross with himself yesterday, wasn't he, Crofty, for not getting the job done first lap in qualifying and leaving himself vulnerable to a red flag, which came. So he's really making amends today, isn't he, Max? They love that move, by the way, that fight in the grandstand, Crofty. You see them opposite your commentary box. Yeah, that's action they see all day. They loved it.
Oh, they did. They might like this one as well. Alex Albon and Lance Stroll. This is a scrap for 13th place. And Lance Stroll is right on Alex Albon's tail here.
Okay, while that happened, Kinniman has dropped a couple of places, so he has been passed now by Lewis Hamilton and Esteban Ocon. He's 10th. Günther Steiner, I want to know what he's thinking, because he can hold off Valtteri Bottas for a few laps, and Bottas is gaining on him about half a second per lap. So it looks like Bottas and Magnussen, that's going to be a fight for the last few laps. I think Bottas might have the pace on Magnussen,
Yeah, I think good to start is thinking, oh, I don't have to call Gene after this race. Oh, my dad is here. I will see him in person. This was the Lance Stroll moment that he got past Alex Albon. Looking up there, but couldn't measure it going into the back.
Yeah, he almost lost another place there. He had to fight that one through the lap. Lewis Hamilton down in 8th place now, 3.5 seconds behind Leclerc only, and lapping faster. So the Mercedes has been stronger in the second part of the race, both of them. Russell in a very handy 4th place.
Charles Leclerc coming back into it too, striking distance in 2 laps in the battle for 7th place. Leclerc gaining a bit here on Pierre Gasly. I dare say 6th place is the target on this one. George Russell still a couple of seconds clear of Carlos Sainz. I'll tell you what, if Leclerc or Hamilton can clear Gasly.
Which position is Lance? Red Bull Victor 1.
Has to be 13, P13.
He's watching me on the TV.
How does he know?
He's watching me on a big screen.
Sure, not got Sky Go. Take through his dashboard.
He's showing off there, isn't he?
Ever the supportive teammate. It's not a sentence you would have said about Fernando Alonso 10 years ago.
That's great.
And the fact is he's having a bit of a lonely race out of 3rd place, but he won't care. Because that's another very fine performance. It'll be, 4 podiums out of 5 for Alonso at the start of this particular season. I was just about to say, Gasly, with that Sainz with that 5-second penalty, Hamilton or Leclerc can clear Gasly. Please tell me he's struggling. Please tell me. That'd be really good news.
I'd love to know which diamond screen, which big screen Fernando saw that move on, and just to know which corner he was in when he was busy having a look around.
I would say he'd be round about turn 11 when Lance made that move at turn 1. That would be my best guess on that one. I'll tell you in a minute, because we've got a GPS driver tracker. We'll see where Alonso is when Stroll gets to turn 1. We're on board now with Yuki Tsunoda. Got Valtteri Bottas as his next target. Down into turn 17 we go. Can he get it stopped in time? He can. Valtteri Bottas, he lost out to the 2 Mercedes in this part of the track last year. Will now try and get back on terms with the Alpha Tauri. It's the 2 alpha males, as it were, are going against each other. Tauri against Romeo, and Tauri wins on this particular occasion. And I think it was turn 11 where Fernando Alonso would have seen the big screen. He just got through there as Lance Stroll went to turn 1.
Yeah. Good stuff. His pace, I mean, he's best of the rest again, isn't he, Fernando? Up there in 3rd place.
He certainly is. His teammate Lance Stroll now coming after Valtteri Bottas. Has he got half a chance if others' tyres are going off to make it up into the top 10? Potentially needs to get an overtake done right now. Bottas has got DRS, so that won't be helping him too much, but he's got fresher tyres as Lance Stroll. He goes into turn 11, tries once again to get past the Alfa Romeo. There's really only one line going through that particular part of the track. I dare say with a good exit down the back straight, Lance Stroll will have Valtteri Bottas by the time they get to turn 17. Bottas, who going into this race had completed a lap of the points since Bahrain. But good qualifying and a good start from him. He did that. Here comes Lance Stroll on the DRS. After braking, he's going to try and ease up alongside the experienced British driver. They go very, very close but don't touch. Gave each other enough room and enough respect there. And Stroll makes it up into 12th place and now will chase after Yuki Tsunoda. Bottas fights it back a little bit, but not too hard. Christian Horner on the Red Bull pit wall. Max Verstappen had a better strategy today, but you couldn't have put Sergio on hard tyres at the start, or could you?
Well, the best strategy, all the simulations was telling us that the medium is the better strategy for the start of the race, and I think where Max made the difference was really between lap 20 and 40. His pace on the warm tyre there was just outstanding. At times he was going quicker than Checo, obviously on the same tyre, and they were pushing very, very hard. They both knew the gap, the 20 seconds for the pit stop, and you can see that training the tyres, pushing with the consistency they had was truly impressive.
We were saying, Christian, that this week was the anniversary of 2016 of when Max was announced as a Red Bull driver. I think it's fair to say that you got the decision right now.
I thought he's done an incredible job, but both drivers today have been phenomenal, and to have both running where they are, after starting first and 11th, it's testament to the great teamwork today as well.
Anthony was saying on our Sky Race Control, Christian, that he heard a lot less radio traffic to Sergio than he did to Max on the gap, measuring and understanding the gap.
Well, the gap was 19.8, and Checo had that 4 or 5 times, so that he knows that number. He's looking at obviously what the gap then is to Max on a lap by lap basis, which he got every lap. So he then just has to take one number away from the other and knew exactly where Max was.
Christian, thanks ever so much indeed. Thanks for joining us this weekend. We'll be back with the Red Bull Pit Bull in a few more weekends to come. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton chasing Pierre Gasly at the moment. Charles Leclerc is ahead on the Alpine, and Lewis Hamilton would dearly love to be ahead of the Alpine, and under braking he has got it done. Down into turn 11, nice move from Lewis Hamilton so he can keep on the tail of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, who's coming good once again. In the latter stages of the race, just 10 Kravitz as he did in Baku 7 days ago.
Yes, the other thing that happened, of course, 7 days ago, probably, we got that people in the pit lane when Esteban Ocon was still to make a pit stop. And they've changed the procedure just to mark everybody's card on that as we head towards the end of the race. Now, none of the mechanics, nor VIPs, nor guests, nor team personnel are allowed to step foot outside their garage until the last runner, who now, given that Piastri and Sargent are allowed down, is Nick de Vries, some minute and 20 seconds down the road, has taken the checkered flag. So what you're going to see is whoever it is, probably Max Verstappen, winning, and then everybody's going to cross the line. Then there's be a sprint of the mechanics with their cooling fans to get to Parc Ferme a minute and 20 seconds later. So watch out for that. That's how they changed the procedure to make sure what happened last week doesn't happen again. Thanks, Ted.
We're that close to Perez?
No, sorry, it's Sargent.
Just going to say.
Yes, sorry, George. You are round about 27 seconds behind Sergio Perez. Martin.
Yeah, so this is obviously the position there with Leclerc and Hamilton, and dismal run for Gasly on the previous round. He lost 2 places to these two. Look at that.
Lewis Hamilton down the inside, it's where he got Pierre Gasly on the previous lap. He's now got Charles Leclerc as well. That was very neat indeed, and I dare say gets him even more votes in the overtake of the day competition. That was super.
Yeah, it was. He's going to be wary now of the Ferrari with DRS down this back straight. Lewis there, really punchy on the throttle, keen to get out of turn 16, as the Ferrari will then be getting a slipstream and getting its wing open now, but he's quite a long way back.
Let's have a little look once again on board with Lewis Hamilton. There wasn't much room, there was enough.
No, it's very brave. He stuck with it. Leclerc tried to squeeze him, trying to push him the long way round. Lewis having none of it. Good move.
And they rather like that in the grandstands, and he's rather liking it as well out in front. Max Verstappen, new livery on that Red Bull car, which I quite like for this weekend. Hasn't made the car go any slower. It's been as fast as it has been throughout this season. Red Bull drivers, Verstappen and Perez, sharing the victories between them. Verstappen on his way towards the checkered flag, and it is worth pointing out again, to equal that number of wins for the team of Sebastian Vettel, that record number of wins for Red Bull of 38, and he'll go on and he'll win even more for that Red Bull team. You know, where once Vettel was the superstar, Max has really taken over, I think, at that team now.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a superb drive from Max Verstappen, and he'll be pushing, I think, to ensure he gets the fastest lap. I mean, Perez has just done 1:30.6, his personal best of the Grand Prix, but Max will want to make sure, because that's a net 2 points effectively. He'd be worried to lose it to his teammate, but you know, Alonso's done a super job for Aston Martin. We know that the Red Bulls have been pushing pretty hard, fighting each other, so we're seeing them true pace, but Alonso is a pit stop behind in third place.
You mentioned fastest lap. Max has got it at the moment. He's just set the fastest first sector on this latest lap. So I dare say Martin is doing exactly what he thought he might, and trying to extend that. Since he made the pit stop, came out fresh and rubber. Sergio Perez, understandably, hasn't had the pace to live with his teammate, but important for him, that he comes home, picks up that runners-up spot, and tries to keep as close to his teammate as he can, because the more this season develops, the more you think it's going to be a Red Bull driver lifting the championship at the end of the year. And I know there's a long way to go, but I can't really see anyone getting back at them consistently.
Well, they've got a lot of catching up to do, and Red Bull are not going to stand still, are they? Law of diminishing returns. So he does a 29.7, new fastest lap, and takes a beating from Sergio Perez on tyres that are now 37 laps old.
So he starts his final lap then, and does Max Verstappen, and his teammate Sergio Perez in second place starts his two. 30,000 fans more in attendance here, come to see Formula One in Miami. And it's a touch of deja vu for them, isn't it? Because it's going to be Max Verstappen that will go on and win the race. He did it from third on the grid 12 months ago here in Miami. He's going to do it from ninth on the grid here today. That's the thing, 5 seconds ahead, but he started ninth.
Yeah. Well, he had damage limitations, didn't he, in terms of he was so careful on the first lap, kept out of trouble, picked the back markers off, and he was only around 5 seconds off the lead by the time he got through, really, the true back markers. And then he got up to second, and as Christian said, his pace then, through the second phase of those opening set of tyres, was blistering, and that's where he got the job done.
Started his racing career in Florida in the Winter Series back in 2014. Has returned to Florida in Formula One and very much the number one. Last year's race winner, Max Verstappen, approaches the checkered flag. His results this season, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. He wins the Miami Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, what a drive that was. It's another 1-2 for Red Bull. Sergio Perez comes home to take second place, and the car once more very much in a class and probably a zip code of its own on this track this afternoon. Fernando Alonso will take another podium, and for Alonso, a fourth podium in the opening 5 races of the season for Aston Martin. Verstappen, Perez and Alonso, they are getting rather used to each other on that podium at the moment. But well done to George Russell, who should come home and does come home to take 4th place. Carlos Sainz will hang on to 5th, even with that 5-second penalty, because he's far enough ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who should take 6th. And from Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen. We're on board with Lance Stroll trying to take 11th place off Yuki Tsunoda, but he's going to stick behind him from 18th to 12th for Stroll. The Tsunoda crosses the line in 11th place, where he rather likes this season. Behind him, Stroll, Bottas and Albon, Hulkenberg, Joe, Norris, De Vries, Piastri and Sargent last for him in his home Grand Prix.
Well, that was a hard but very well-earned World Championship point there for Kevin Magnussen. He was going for it, wasn't he? Took no prisoners, especially on the re-overtakes. Great drive.
Took a few Red Bull mechanics on the pit wall.
Yeah.
I think they're not allowed to climb the fence, and they need to have a foot at least in contact with the concrete, so I'm told.
Yeah, good drive today, Max. It's really hard for ourselves, but I love what we can done better yesterday. Today was a very good drive.
I call that simply lovely. That was a good race all round, so thank you very much. That's really good. Thank you for the team again.
Well done, Max. That was a mighty little stint. That was really impressive on that on the hard tyre. And thanks for racing cleanly with your teammate today. It was a great team performance. 1-2 in America. Brilliant.
Yeah, that time lasted really nicely. And yeah, that was a good fight with second, but yeah, that was very good. Good day.
Yeah, that mistake yesterday in qualifying, he had to abort his first flying lap. And Charles Leclerc crashed and the red flag came out. He couldn't do a second. But you don't get points until a Sunday. And driver of the day, once again then, for Max Verstappen, 27% of the votes.
Yeah, I mean, it's alarming, isn't it? You sense that wherever they start on the grid, it'll be the
Tough weekend, but good points.
Yeah, well done, Checo. Well done, you gave it everything there, and great points today. Great points today. Well done.
Yeah, well done. Good thing.
Brilliant. Thanks for the racing. You guys were very good today. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good job, guys.
you sense that wherever they start on the grid or in the pit lane, they're still going to be right up the sharp end by the end of Grand Prix.
How disappointed will Sergio Perez be by that today?
Very, I'd imagine. You know, his teammates come from 8 races behind him on the grid and comfortably beat him. But, you know, if it started on the hard tyres, he would have been compromiser off the line. You know, the 6 cars around him were all on the medium tyres as well. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but quite clearly, the hard tyre. And remember, when Leclerc spun off in practice as well, the team just didn't really have any knowledge, did they, on the longer runs, on the long runs with the tyres.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that the pole sitter couldn't have gone onto the hard tyres, his teammate, after making a mistake in quality.